You have to jump in with both feet. I know we just talked about putting one foot in front of the other in those small moments, but when it's time, you can't dabble. You have to really do it.
Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You were made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
And welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so good, and part of that reason is because of our amazing sponsor, Wilbron. Wilbron is Alabama's premier public relations firm. If y'all have any PR needs, be sure to hit them up at www.wilbron.com. Y'all, today's guest is absolutely amazing. Her name is Kerry Barrett, and she is an Emmy-winning anchor, host, and on-camera expert who turned a paralyzing fear of public speaking into a multi-decade career in broadcast journalism for internationally renowned media institutions like NBC, ABC, and Fox TV. Now she helps business owners, executives, and teams break through mindset issues and cultivate their on-camera delivery and persona. Y'all, put your hands together for Kerry Barrett.
Hi. Oh my God. I want to put my hands together for myself after hearing that. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kerry, for being on our show. I'm so excited. In case you can't tell, I'm super stoked that you are here and cannot wait to learn more about you, your journey, and how you overcame this fear of public speaking to become a broadcaster, like on television. Seriously?
I was terrible and terrified. I was not just scared. I sucked. So there's that too.
I don't know. That's kind of hard to believe.
Oh, no, trust me. I'm not being like modest. It was pretty bad.
So, Kerry, okay, so first of all, tell me how it all started. Like, when did this idea of public speaking even come into your head that this might be something that you need to do? And then how did you overcome that fear?
Yeah, so we're going to go way back for a second. When I was in college, we got to go back to get to the origin story here. When I started college, I'll keep it abridged though. I was a pre-veterinary medicine major. I wanted to work with animals because I loved animals, but I was so debilitatingly shy that I wanted to do something where I wasn't in front of people and talking to them all the time. I did that for a year and a half, studied for a year and a half. Organic chemistry put a fairly decisive end to my veterinarian dreams. I had never even considered doing anything else. I mean, since I was a little girl, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. So I had literally no concept of what else I could potentially do. So I took a year and a half off from college. I still didn't know what I wanted to do after I, spent a year and a half trying to find myself. So I re-enrolled in a program that my school had just started, which was a communications program. And I went to Clemson University for undergrad. They had lots of science and engineering, not so much. So they had just launched this program. And so it was very, very broad. It was everything from marketing and PR, journalism. There was some speech pathology. There was business communication, et cetera, et cetera. And number one, no organic chemistry. And number two, I was going to have to take a public speaking course, two of them actually, to graduate, no matter what track I went into. And I thought this was an opportunity for me to finally get my arms around this fear that I had. So I stumbled into journalism through that story because I had taken a year and a half off. I was trying to make up for lost time, and it was jamming my schedule full of credits. And I was on 24 credit hours. I think 12 was full time at the time. And I wanted to figure out how I could squeeze another 3 credit hours in there. And one of the ways I could do that was an internship. And I had to find an internship that was in a 24/7, 365 industry because I didn't have regular hours. And so I stumbled into the news industry. And because that's a 24/7, 365 business. And from the first day out with a reporter, I loved it. So then I had to figure out how I was not just going to overcome the fear, but also how I was going to get good enough that somebody would pay me to do this. And so that began the process of learning that I went through. That was somewhat painful, at least for the first few years, till I got to where I finally ended my broadcast journey, if you will.
Wow. So I think it is so important to know a few things on your journey that may have been like pivotal moments in my mind. Of course, you gave us the abridged version, but first of all, coming to the realization that you were in the wrong field.
Yeah.
Even though it was something that as a child, you grew up thinking, I'm going to be a vet. That's just all there is to it. And then something happened that was an absolute fork in the road for you. Organic chemistry.
Yeah.
And that, no, this is not my thing.
Yeah, that was like, see you later, Kerry. You're not cut out for this.
I love that. But then I love how you took some time to figure out, who am I and what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Like,
right.
what is that really going to look like? And so, and communication, everybody communicates. So there's always going to be a need for communicators, right? So
right.
You wisely took that road toward that communication program at Clemson. And from there, you were able to meet people, get more comfortable with this idea of communication. And then along that way, would you say that the connections that you made in school and those activities that you went through, the rigor of all the classes and the heavy schedule, prepared you for the work of being in the news industry?
I would say certainly to some degree, although really, truly, journalism is one of those things where there is some theory and some practical application that you can get in a classroom. Honestly, though, most of your learning comes from your internships. I don't know anybody who's gotten a job in the journalism world without having done an internship. So really, the contacts and the connections and the learning of the rigors of the business, for the most part, actually came from my internships, of which I did 3. So I got a heavy dose of internship experience as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And so when it came to actually speaking, you're standing up there, the mic's in front of you or pinned on you or whatever. Tell me about that experience.
Well, I was not good. I will share a story of my very first live shot. So it was the first time I was on air, and they had told me that I was going to have a week to sort of, learn the lay of the land and understand the processes and systems within the newsroom. That's never how it goes. They're always short-staffed. So I got there my first day. They were like, "We need you on a story." So the story was not a huge breaking news story or whatever. It was around the holidays when I first started, and they were doing a blood drive. The Red Cross is always doing blood drives around the holiday. It was just a call for people to come out and donate blood. And they had their mobile blood van in this big parking lot. And the interesting thing was I had done this exact story with a reporter at my internship. It was around the holidays. It was a mobile blood drive. Red Cross making a call for blood donations. And so I'm like, oh, I got this covered. Like, I know this story already. I've done it. The facts are a little bit different where we are, et cetera. And where you contacted, but I get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So the key difference was when I was doing the internship, the place was packed, like line out the door, 50 people deep, couldn't find a parking spot. Like it was so crowded. When I was actually reporting, there was nobody there. It was like crickets. There was like one rusty Datsun in the corner of the parking lot, and there was nobody there. So the anchors tossed to me. They're like, Kerry's out at, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Kerry, tell me how it's going. And I'm like, well, as you can see, and I froze. And the only thing that would come to me is what I said or heard at that last live shot at my internship. So I gestured around me like a complete fool. You can see the parking lots filling up, and there's a line 50 people deep, and it's like literal crickets are chirping at me. And I finished that up, and I was like, oh my gosh, you sounded like a fool. Like, not only did you sound like a fool, they can all see that there's not cars there and there's no people. So I fully expected to go back and get berated by my news director. He was easy on me that day, I think, since it was my first live shot, but it was a tough hill that I had to climb to get to where I didn't have any more episodes like that, but also was good and could have viewers actually want to stick around and watch the news rather than laugh at my performance.
So in hindsight,
yeah,
now that you have all these years of experience under your belt, what do you think you would have said differently?
I would have said, well, it's not too busy yet, but they're hoping that the crowd picks up. And that's why we're out here talking about blah, 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 blah. That's what I would have. I mean, journalism is really, at least broadcast, especially when it's live, is all about observation and facts, of which I did neither in my first live shot. I observed, but did not report factually. That's what I would say. It's not crowded now. And that's why the Red Cross is putting out a call for blood donations. Donations are always down around the holidays, and they could really use your help. Here's what you need to know.
Wow. See, that is so good. That's so perfect. I love that. And it's so great how experience is an amazing teacher.
Yeah, it sure is. Painful sometimes, but a good teacher for sure.
I love it. I love it. And so it seems though that you overcame your fear of public speaking like instantly.
No, not instantly. I had to look like I overcame the fear instantly, but on the inside, I was still trembling every time I put the mic on or saw the red light go on. I would say, though, it was a series. There was not one moment where suddenly I did have confidence. It sort of hit me when I was anchoring by myself. My co-anchor was off, and there was a breaking news situation. It wasn't a huge situation. I was out in Texas for my first job, and there was like a brush fire, and it wasn't out of control too badly, and they got it under control, but I had to cover it by myself and from the news desk, and we didn't have a lot of video. There wasn't a lot of pictures that I could rely on or anything like that. So this was like pre-cell phone days. We had like a tower cam that could zoom in and see it kind of. And so I realized after I got through that newscast that it wasn't all that long ago that would have completely stopped me in my tracks, and I would have had to rely on my co-anchor. I didn't have a co-anchor that day. I had to do it myself. And because I had to do it myself, I realized I could do it myself. I would have always deferred to my co-anchor because I was too scared to try it. And when I realized that I could do it, I realized suddenly that I had the ability to sort of navigate whatever was in front of me. Then that's where the real change come. That's where I stopped sort of trembling on the inside and was able to function on the outside the same as I was on the inside. It wasn't always pretty. It certainly wasn't always perfect, but I knew that I could find my way through it.
Right. Wow. And well, I am so proud of you, number one, for feeling that fear and pushing through and doing it anyway, because I think that's half the battle. We have fears. We let them cripple us sometimes and stop us from being great. I mean, we have so many gifts and skills and talents inside, as business owners, as TV personalities, no matter what it is that we're doing. Only we can provide the service that we provide, like we provide, because there's only one us.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So what you have is an absolute gift. And I'm so glad that you broke through and shared it with the world. I mean, that's so fantastic. So fantastic. So what would you recommend to someone who's struggling with pushing through?
Yeah. It's such a good question, because I actually really thought that I had, this sounds so arrogant when I say it now in retrospect, but I thought I had all that figured out. I thought that I was like, well, I can go on live television in front of millions of people every day for hours on end, and I don't even think about it. I could do it in my sleep. Like, that's how comfortable I am with it. And when I started a business, I realized that there was all this other stuff out there that I was afraid of, but I had never been confronted with it before because I wasn't doing it. And I realized I had a lot of shadow work, which I didn't even know was a thing before I started a business. One of the things that has been a real struggle for me as a business owner is I find the majority of my clients on LinkedIn now, but I had been off and on. Like I would always pause because I felt silly being there, or like I wasn't smart enough to be there. I didn't know enough about business to be posting there. And I'm still 5 years into my business, and I would never describe myself as an entrepreneur because I really don't have that kind of mind. I don't. I'm not being modest. I need a lot of help. So, but I realized there was all this other stuff that I was afraid of. And I didn't even realize until very recently how much I was letting it hold me back. And then I realized the state of my business was really sort of a reflection of what was going on with me inside. And so really the first thing that I recognized was how, for me, and that's not every business owner's platform, but for me, not putting myself out on LinkedIn was really hindering my ability to grow. So I took a master class in LinkedIn and have been going all in on it for not that long, like the last month. And the leads have been pouring in. And I realized how much I held myself back by not being there. And so to answer your question about pushing through, I wish I knew all the answers there. I don't have them. I think it's just a matter of like one day you decide I'm just done with not showing up for myself. I don't know what it's going to look like. And I know it's not going to feel good at a number of different times, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the funny thing is that I heard the exact advice that I'm saying right now hundreds of times, but for whatever reason, didn't apply to me. I wasn't going to take it. I wasn't comfortable doing it. It was very easy for me to just say like, not today. But when I finally realized why I was doing that, which is really just the fear, then I made some changes. And I would say the other thing is I'm not a big believer in motivation. What I mean by that is if you wait to be motivated to do something, like if you wait to really be motivated to work out or do something that you don't like to do, but you know is good for you, you're probably not going to do it. It's just it's the discipline rather than the motivation, at least for me, that makes the difference. And so I would say pushing through those fears requires discipline more so than motivation.
Yes, I agree 100%. Discipline is definitely the key. But I love how transparent you are, Kerry, about how when you started the business, it wasn't because you were a business owner mindset type entrepreneur. I can definitely relate to that. I just wanted to help people. That's all, this whole business part of the thing. It's like, that wasn't the plan.
Like totally foreign, right?
Right.
Like, you want me to scale? I don't even know what scale means.
Right, exactly. What does that look like?
Yeah. You asking me to weigh myself? Hell no. Yeah.
Right. And so I found that I was in now that I'm a business owner, I'm having conversations that I never used to have with people that I never would ever be in front of, and that in itself can be daunting. It can be like, I'm a woman of faith, so I pray a lot. And so God hears from me like all day. I'm like, Lord, what do I do? All the things, because I'm just so inexperienced with, or I was so inexperienced with navigating this conversation or this situation that I never had to deal with as a corporate employee. That was my boss's job. Now, when you're the boss, it's like, you need to have this conversation and it needs to look like this, and this. And one of the things that I found helped me was surrounding myself with a community of people who'd already been there and done that and done it successfully.
Yeah.
And they would speak into me and give me wisdom and guidance and direction. And then they were my best cheerleaders. They'd call back and say, so how'd it go? And then I would share all the things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what I probably should have said differently, or what I probably should have done, and all that. And they're like, oh, it's okay. There'll be another time.
Yeah. We're our own worst critic, though. Don't you notice that too? Like I 100%. And you probably did awesome, but I know we always pick at ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And then, for them to say, oh, it'll happen again. Now I'm in the back of my head like, wait, what? Yeah. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that again. Yeah. But it all just kind of built. One situation just kind of builds on the other. And then before you know it, you're in that situation again for maybe the third or fourth time. And you're like, look, this is what we're doing. This is what's
start
happening.
To take charge.
Yes, because you're not becoming authority.
Yeah. I've been at this rodeo before. I know how it goes. Yeah.
Exactly. So Kerry, tell us about your business and about how you help people build an online persona. What does that look like?
So I work with people in a couple of different ways. I work mostly through speaking. So my key driver of building your online persona or your online brand is doing it through speaking specifically. And I do work with some people on public speaking, but it's not my prime area. I work with people specifically about how to communicate effectively on camera. And so for smaller business owners or founders, that usually means they're looking for ideas about how to create video for social media or video sales letters, or they're looking to create blogs. It's ways that they use speaking on camera for marketing and sales materials.
I love it.
For executives, it's often I'm communicating with in high stakes environments. So I'm talking to people who I'm pitching to, or to investors, or to global virtual town halls, or I'm doing, large virtual panel discussion or something along those lines. The other way that I help people is not necessarily through social media persona building, but through media persona building. And I mean, when I say media, I mean things like that really tie into my background. So teaching people to generate media opportunities and PR opportunities without hiring a PR agency. So if you want to be featured in Forbes or Fast Company or Inc. or CNBC or Fox Business or whatever it is, how do you do that? And then I teach business owners, soup to nuts, if you will, how to create media opportunities for themselves.
I love that. And your videos are amazing. So we're watching them as you're talking. And these are absolutely beautiful. So well done. And I can see what a difference it makes when you learn the elements, the basic elements of present. What is the word I'm looking for?
Presentation.
Present yourself. Yeah, presentation of yourself to the public, whether you're on social media or you're on a live stage, what that looks like. I love your website. And for those that are on listen only mode, you're missing out. So definitely go to the YouTube video so you can check this out. Kerry's videos are absolutely stunning, stunning. Love them.
You're so sweet. Thanks.
So what do you think is the key to building confidence in front of the camera?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that go along with it, but I'm going to say something that is very basic. It really is. You've got to learn the skills, and you can only learn the skills by doing the thing. The competent, you may know that. Let me backtrack a little bit. People fall into one of two buckets. People that are either confident they can develop the skills, or those who are not sure that they can develop the skills. Both of these buckets require doing the thing. For one group, they're already confident, they just need the knowledge. For the others, they need the skills and the competence, and then the confidence comes after. And really, at the end of the day, it's about doing it and watching yourself. That is the thing that most people loathe. And I was in the news business, as you know, we talked about, for 20 years. It was part of my job requirement. I've got to go back and watch myself, and I should do it on a daily basis to see where I can improve. I never did it. I mean, that's not true. I did it, but I did it not nearly as often as I should, because I hate it so much. And most people do. And the other thing that they struggle with is they know something is off, but they don't quite know exactly what it is, or they don't know exactly how to fix it. Like, I had a client who is now a client. I had a sales call the other day, and someone was like, can you look at this video? Like, I don't know why I sound so out of breath. And I'm like, well, it's because you're nervous and your breathing is shallow. They're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. I was breathing so shallow because I was so nervous. And I'm like, well, now we got to figure out how to get your breath steadied, which will help you dial down your nerves. And then we'll work on your voice, right? How to use it more effectively. So it's a series of steps. And if you don't know the steps, even though something isn't quite right, it can be really challenging to fix it. The key, though, again, to just underscore it one more time, is you got to do the thing. Like, even if you just open up your phone and you record yourself for 30 seconds a day, and you go back and you watch and you pick one thing that you want to work on. Maybe it's eye contact, maybe it's energy, maybe it's vocal variety, whatever it is, and pick that thing, work on it until you feel like you're not going to have your arms fully around it, but you understand it a little bit more. And then pick something else to work on. Don't try and work on everything at once. Otherwise you'll make, it's like running 65 marathons. You make no progress in any of them. Work on one thing, figure it out, and then move on to the next.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you shared that story about your client who did do the work of looking at a recording of that he had done. And he said his breathing sounded weird. And you're like, yeah, it's shallow. You're shallow breathing now. And are there any particular skills or techniques? Because I'm sure he's not the only one who has that issue. Is there a particular thing you can do when you're in that moment and you need to slow your breathing and you need to relax and you need to calm down? Is there anything that anyone can do, like, right in that moment?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on the format in which you're speaking. And I know we talked about a couple of the different ways that I help people. So let me preface this by saying, if you're really nervous and you're shooting a short form video that's only 30 seconds, it's very hard to get yourself in the groove that quickly. If you're doing let's say you're doing a virtual town hall or something, and you're going to be talking for 15, 20, 30 or longer, then you have that spike of nerves that always hits in the beginning. It usually hits about 30 seconds in. It lasts for the first 3 minutes or so, and then it begins to calm down as you find your groove, for most of us anyway. If you are recording a short form video and you've got to be ready to go right away, I would say a couple of things. Number one, record while you're standing up, because when you stand up, you have a little bit more access to, like, the depth of your lungs, if you will, which means you can take a deeper breath. And it also has a tendency to make our voices sound more animated and alive, a little bit more dynamic when we're standing up. Our energy and our body movement sort of infuses that. And then the other thing is, if you're really freaking out, I like to do, it's called the 4-7-8 method. And it's a style of breathing. I didn't develop it. Dr. Weil developed it, who's a physiology. I can't remember exactly what his title is. He's a wellness coach though. And it is breathing in for 4, holding for 7, and then breathing out for 8. It's important to breathe out longer than you breathe in, because that's the part of the breath that dials our nervous system down, relaxes it. And so usually doing a round of those breaths, usually somewhere between 8 and 10, we'll dial things down, and then we can start our video. The other element is deepening our register a little bit. We have a tendency when we're nervous and we're breathing shallow, like that client I told you about, and that makes our voice a little higher, and it sometimes makes it sound a little thinner. And if we're really nervous, then it gets stuck up here, and we find that we have to take another deep breath. And then so if you can lower your register and not necessarily slow down your rate of speech, but lower your octave, you'll be able to pull from a deeper element of your lungs as well. I know it sounds very complex, but really it's just about lowering your register and taking a couple of deep breaths.
I love it. I love it. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about, like some people were in choir or chorus in school, and there were these different breathing techniques that you had to do in order to sing a song.
Yeah.
and so it kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not a speech pathologist. So like if you have a real issue, if you have a strong nasal tone to your voice, or you're not using your voice correctly and you're developing like vocal nodules or something, that's way beyond my pay grade. But if you're just learning to use rather your voice with effectively and compellingly and with vocal variety, that's a great place to start. And you're absolutely right. It's often like breathing exercises you do for singing to warm up your throat and to get you, on the right tone.
Right. I love it. And so when business owners are thinking about taking this next step and developing their online persona, whether it's in video or they're taking more stages, how can someone start to improve on that persona right away? Or what are some common mistakes that they make along the way?
Yes, some of the biggest mistakes actually do tie into voice. If we're talking specifics about speaking, most people have a tendency to speak with a rather flat effect. Video already flattens you energetically for a number of different reasons. And so people and also people want to be small often when they're on the stage and when they're in front of the camera. And so when we become small, and there's a psychological reason there that I could dive into, but when we become small, our vocal variety tends to flatten as well, which gives us sort of the sound of speaking in a monotone. So voice is one of the biggest and most overlooked elements of showing up on camera or video or on the stage. We think there's so many visuals that go into it, and there are, but really so much of it comes down to our voice. And I would say the other big mistake that people make, and this is very basic, is they don't do it. You'll never get anywhere if you don't volunteer to step up on stages or step up on podcasts or step up on your social media accounts in video. Video has exploded in the last year, and it's really exploded on LinkedIn in the past probably month or two. And so it is hands down one of the greatest ways to build your online persona is getting out there and getting on video. I mean, you're doing a great job of it now. You're on a video podcast. But that is the way people are growing, and you've got to do it in order to put yourself in the game.
Yes, agreed, 100%. I was just talking to another podcaster, and he's a strong proponent of podcasting as a tool for growing your business.
Yeah.
And it's just going to become the number one way that people find you and can see you. And you don't have to pay millions of dollars in commercial advertising.
Ad spend. Yeah.
Yeah, ad spend. Thank you.
No, I got it. Yeah.
We don't have those kind of budgets. And so everyone's got a phone, like you said, everyone's got a phone. And as long as you have a phone, there's no reason why people can't know about you and your business and all the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah.
There's just no reason for it. So like you said, you just have to do it. Just show up. And I think it's so important to take advantage of those smaller opportunities when you get those chances. To maybe you're in a group setting and they just need someone to facilitate a table.
There you go.
You start there, facilitate the table, get comfortable being a leader as a speaker and representing a table of people. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, you're maybe facilitating a small group. Yeah. Get comfortable there. And then once you get comfortable there, your audience will grow and you'll get more comfortable because this is just what you do. It's becoming natural. It's becoming a natural thing, even though you have to fake it at first.
Yep.
You fake it till you make it. That is
That's exactly right. I hear all those people be like, don't fake it. And I'm like, sometimes you have to. Like sometimes, I mean, had I not, I would not have ever stepped foot in a news studio. Like that's just how I had to do it, and that applies, I think, to a lot of people.
Absolutely. 100%. I was actually at an event not too long ago, and I was terrified to be in this large space with all of these people. And I mean, like physically ill, scared. But like I said, I'm a praying woman. I'm like, Lord, make it stop. Calm my nerves. I need you to all the things.
I love it.
So, but felt the fear, did it anyway, totally killed it. I mean,
nice.
I was like,
yes. Amazing.
It was fantastic. And I'm still reeling from it. And the confidence that was downloaded into me from that experience, going through those motions, taking those baby steps, baby stepping from my room to the elevator. Stepping from the elevator into the room.
That's such a smart way to put it though. I mean, really, like that's what it takes. It's not these bigger steps. It's like, okay, one foot in front of the other, Renee, then in from the, exactly. I love that you did it though. That's awesome.
Thank you. I mean, I felt really great afterwards when I could come back with a testimony of all the crazy that went on beforehand and then how it all ended up. Oh my word, just so great. So God is good. I just have to say that.
Great. No, I'm so happy to hear it. And you bring up such a good point about like sometimes we think that the steps need to be much bigger, and it's sort of the steps of life. It's just one foot after the next. Like you think 2 seconds into the future, what has to come next? What has to come next? In those moments where you're feeling immense pressure and stress, how do you get through it? It's just one foot in front of the other.
That's right. Just do it. Just like a Nike commercial. Just do it. So, Kerry, as we get ready to close out, I know that people want to stay in touch with you. So many people are afraid. I think I heard somewhere a statistic that more people would rather die than speak in public.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a terrible statistic.
They'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
Right. Yeah. No. So how can you help people? What is something that as a quick tip for owning the spotlight? Just doing it.
A quick tip for owning the spotlight is you have to jump in with both feet. I know we just talked about putting one foot in front of the other in those small moments, but when it's time, you can't dabble. You have to really do it. You'll never get great at what it is and this applies to anything other than speaking, anything. You have to jump in with both feet. It's like riding a bike. If you're not willing to fall and hop back up again, you'll never figure it out. And so don't dabble. When you want to get great at something, you got to jump in with both feet. And that would be my first tip.
I love it. I could not agree more. Jump in.
Jump in.
And it's like this.
Yeah, hold your nose if you need to, but jump in.
Just go. Yeah. I love it. So, Kerry, how can we stay in touch with you? How can our listeners find you, connect with you, stay in touch, and learn more from you?
I appreciate that. LinkedIn is a great way to find me. It's just under Kerry Barrett, and you can see the spelling of my name there. You can also find me on Instagram. I am Kerry Barrett. And then finally, I have a whole slew of free resources on my website. It's kerrybarrett.com/resources. Very easy to remember. My name is consistent throughout. So if you're interested in free resources about speaking, about video, about PR, that's where you go. Hit me up, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have as well.
I love it. And so, Kerry, as we get ready to wrap up today, if there's only one thing people take away from today's show? What do you want them to remember?
Oh, I want them to remember that despite the fear, I promise you, if you want to speak and you want to show up on camera, if I can do it, I promise you, I don't even need to meet you or know you. I promise you, you can do it. So if it's something that is on your Q4 list of accomplishments, or, next year for your business or your personal brand, I have no doubt that you can figure it out. So do the thing. I'm ready to say, just do it again. It's like, you should get sponsored by Nike. Yeah, just do it.
Hashtag Nike.
Yeah, exactly. Nicely done.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kerry, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.